for holding this hearing today on a topic that I think is so important to thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs across the country, as well as Minnesotans, obviously. Just last week, I received an email from a constituent, Paula in Plymouth, Minnesota, who articulated what I've actually heard countless times. And she writes, quote, "I, along with America's small businesses and other hardworking taxpayers, have been struggling under high tax rates for years. It's time that we rally together to change that. Tax cuts for small businesses will do a substantial amount of good for the U.S. economy and everyone in it. Businesses would be able to use these savings to create more jobs, increase wages, and expand to new locations, which would provide a boost to the economy and ensure continued economic growth." And I couldn't have said this better myself. I strongly believe we owe it to Minnesota's innovators and startups and small businesses owners to fix a broken tax code. So with that in mind, Mr. Drury, maybe I'll just start with you. You noted in your testimony that 95% of all businesses and 85% of small businesses are pass-throughs, which means they're paying those taxes at an individual rate instead of the corporate rate. How important is it to have lower rates for both C corporations and for those successful entrepreneurs who are pass-throughs, especially since pass-throughs, they saw a massive increase in their top tax rate from 35% to up to 44.6% recently?
It's very important. As a matter of fact, I'll introduce another way to think about this that we've learned from a few entrepreneurs who brought it to our attention. They have said, you know, we talk a lot about access to capital. How am I going to get a bank loan? How am I going to attract angel investment or venture capital investment to my firm? Tax policy is an access to capital issue. Every April, the tax man comes and takes a third or 44, as you just mentioned, % of my operating capital and walks away. That can be the difference, they've told us, between failure and success. So holding on to what little revenue or profit or money that startups are making in those critical early years is absolutely vital to the chances that startup is going to survive and be able to grow and create jobs. So certainly tax rates or what the government takes away is a major determinative factor as to the survivability of startups.
Sure, and just to follow up on that, you know, we live in this global economy where Americans can start up and they can move a business almost anywhere in the world. You can move capital at the click of a mouse. If you do an internet search today for starting a business overseas, you'll find a lot of advice on how to do exactly that and why it might actually benefit a startup to look overseas. So as we're looking at reforming the tax code and helping entrepreneurs in tax reform, is it important to not only consider how we tax them here in America, but also how our competitors are doing the same taxation or to attract companies?
That's absolutely right, and it's not just on tax reform. It's also on immigration policy, it's on education, et cetera. The rest of the world gets it. The rest of the world has figured out how important startups are to economic growth, that winning the 21st century in terms of economic competition is about attracting the best firms, the best new ideas, the best talent, and they are rolling out the red carpet for entrepreneurs all over the world, including ours. So you're absolutely right that we've got to get our game squared away, or we're going to lose this battle.
Mr. Hodge, do you have a perspective on that as well, in terms of the competition we face and the actions we should take?
Well, the United States has the highest corporate tax rate in the industrialized world. There are only 4 small jurisdictions that have slightly higher tax rates than us. But the rest of the world, as Mr. Deary said, has gotten it. And as we stand still, we fall further and further behind. And it's not just on the corporate side, it's individual rates as well. And it's interesting to note that because we had high tax rates before the 1986 Tax Reform Act, the number of pass-through or small businesses was declining each and every year. And after tax rates fell from 50% to 28% in '86, we saw an explosion in the number of pass-through businesses because tax rates simply matter to entrepreneurship and business startups. And so the more that we move in that direction, I think the more that we're going to see entrepreneurship, the more we're going to see business startups, and the economy will begin to boom again.
Yeah. Ms. Donahue, do you see competition as a state in Ohio and Midwest like Minnesota, competition from around the world?
Absolutely. I don't believe that entrepreneurs in Columbus, Ohio, or in Ohio or in the Midwest see each other as competition. Their competition is global. We live in a global economy, and as you stated, access to capital can occur all over the world. So anything that we can do to keep our innovative entrepreneurs in our state, in our country, we're absolutely in support of.
I see I'm out of time, Mr. Chairman. Yield back.